and then we'll be good.
On you. Wait. Welcome inside the Tennity Ice Pavilion and to the SU Hockey Network. We got a good one today. It's the Syracuse Orange and the Rhode Island Rams. Syracuse coming in at number 20 in the nation show. It should be a good showdown, a divisional showdown as well. I'm Dana Gray, joined alongside by James Colgan. Thanks so much for tuning in. We've missed you for a while, but we're happy to be back in the friendly confines of Tennity. And James, we picked a good one to be at as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Two of the top 25 teams in the entire nation squaring off today. 20th ranked Syracuse, 25th ranked URI. Two very good opponents and some recent history as well. 2-3-1 is URI versus Syracuse just in the past 3 years. Very even matchup between these two teams. Lots of good hockey coming your way.
Yeah, for sure. Syracuse enters today at 13-4-1, coming off a great weekend sweep down in Rutgers on the road. And was talking with assistant coach Andrew Walensky a little bit before the game today, and he said he thinks that was the best 120 minutes of hockey that SU has played this entire year. They had a 7-2 win on the first game and a 5-0 shutout win in Game 2. And, James, it just seems like it couldn't have come at a better time. You know, coming out of the Thanksgiving break, sometimes you're wondering if the legs are going to be there. Sure seemed like they were last weekend.
Yeah, generally, you're loading up on Thanksgiving food. You seem to get a little bit of that malaise to you when you're been playing enough on that. But Syracuse came right back from break, played at a really high level against Rutgers. That was a team they should have beaten both nights, but they played very, very well against them both nights. And I think this is something we sort of expected from this Syracuse team. This is their first time playing really as a young roster with a healthy roster for a significant amount of time. So it's exciting to see Syracuse performing at the level that we've really seen the potential for them to perform at for a pretty long time.
Yeah, 7 different scores from that weekend set, so spreading the love around. And we were talking with head coach Pierre Andre, and he thinks this might be the best hockey that they've been playing over the past couple of years, though they are dealing with a couple of injuries. Goaltender Jacob Collar, he's not going to be able to go tonight. He's dealing with a finger injury, along with Christian Van Heck as well, an ACL, MCL sprain about a month ago, so he's been dealing with surgery. And he's hopefully will be back sometime next season. But for now, the Orange a little bit short-handed. James, do you think that affects them specifically on the back end?
Yeah, I mean, the injuries are certainly a portion of the factor anytime that you're talking about any team. But that's every team here. You can't be expecting yourself to be any different or any better just because of injuries. It's just something that every team has to deal with, and you're going to have to turn around, come out on the better side of it whenever you do. It's a fact of the game that there are going to be injuries, the physicality that they play, it's going to happen. So really for Syracuse, it's just about making sure that you never deviate from the overall plan and the overall structure that's made you successful.
Weekend series begins tonight between Rhode Island and Syracuse. If you remember correctly, last year, game 1 of that series, Rhode Island won 6-2 over the Orange, a dominating 60 minutes from the Rams. Syracuse will be looking to right that wrong tonight in just a few minutes. Keep it right here on the SU Hockey Network. We'll bring you starting lineups and the first puck drop between Syracuse and Rhode Island right here on the SU Hockey Network. All righty, let's get going. This should be fun. Syracuse Orange and the Rhode Island Rams. Thanks so much for tuning in. Dana Gray alongside with James Colgan, high above ringside at Tennity Ice Pavilion. First meeting of these two teams, a couple of ESCHL foes that square off for the first time of 2017. Let's get you your starting lineups. First for the visiting Rams, left wing Evan Rankin. Jake Salisbury centers the line with Michael Pasola on the right. And on the back end, Maxwell Saint-Sauveur. On the left, Alexander Lund, the right defenseman. And John Ketzenberger will be in net for the Rams. For your Syracuse Orange, the forward line of Jacobs, Franzese, and Hayward, centered by Tripp. And on the back end, Luke Cato, alongside with Stephen Brezzi, Michael Kuzo in the cage. And the puck is dropped, and we're underway from Tennity here on a Friday night matchup with Syracuse looking for a hot start. Their first game against Rhode Island last year, they dropped it 6-2. Came back and responded with a one-goal win on Saturday. But obviously looking for a better result and a better push here in this first period on Greek Life Night, no less, at Tennity. Syracuse buzzing in the offensive zone early after opening it up with the winning draw. Cato pinches into keep. Jacobs there. They play catch, and it's quickly spiked away.
Exactly the start you wanted if you were Syracuse. Very hard to get into a game early without really fighting for those pucks on the forecheck, trying to get some hard-earned plays, hard-earned shots on net. No shots just yet, but Syracuse has to be happy with the offensive possession time they had to start this first period.
Long pass looking for Keith Lambert, able to straddle the line and tip it in. Good feed from Sean Messick, one of those freshman defensemen that's been picking up a ton of minutes lately with some injuries on the back end. Jonathan Alsfeld down the left wing. Messick defends him nicely, tries to run him into the boards, but Alsfeld escapes. Now on the far side, out to the top right point. Wrist shot goes off the pads of McNamara. He goes streaking, and Messick feeds him up by the red line. Back on his horse, it's Kyle McKenna, defender for the Rams, and pulls up right behind John Ketzenberger. Goaltender for the Rams enters today with an 11-6 record. Goals against average of .261, save percentage of .913. And he turned the puck over there. Luckily for him, the shot off the tape of Rand Bamsdronk will ramp all the way back to Patalino.
And you said it best, Ketzenberger, 11-6 record. His team is only 11-8 on the season, so he's playing the large majority of minutes in net for URI, and usually that means that you've got a goaltender of spectacular ability. We'll see if he's able to keep it up in this evening's game.
Michael Kuzo, the first time he's touched the puck, it's an easy save for him. Now by the near side circle, picked up and cycled down low. Waiting with it is Mello, looking for an option. Tucks it around the other side. Getting to it is Ains, right in front of the Syracuse bench. Tyler Ains, 3 points on the year. The freshman for Syracuse, involved in a heavy battle right up by the blue line. It's kept in. Ben Mello had it taken away by Rosen, but his clear attempt misses. Now tries to get it. So it's just spinning right by the near side circle, free for anyone. And finally the Orange captain comes in to save it. Ben Ramsdonk with some time and space. Ill-advised dangle, and it's a collision course right by the blue line. Rams tag up and tuck it in, and Kuzo will take a face-off with 17-19 to go in the first period.
Yeah, and Syracuse needs to be a little bit more patient with their breakout passes. You saw it on that last possession in the D zone for the Syracuse defense. Just seemed to be looking, not even really picking their heads up, just flipping that puck off the boards, trying to get it into the neutral zone. Look for your breakout passes. Look for your players that are streaking up ahead. You're not going to set up an offense like that.
Face-off won by the Rams, tipped just wide off the tape of Christopher Mayer. Kept in at the right blue line. Nice little push here from the Rams. After Syracuse getting a little lazy with their clears early on in the first 3 minutes of the game, Michael Kuzo, making no mistake, reaches up high over his head to glove it. And James, Greek Life Night here. You yourself not involved in Greek life, but it's nice to see that a good crowd here at Tennity. Gotten some rowdy tailgates going on beforehand, and that energy is carried right into the rink.
Yeah, nothing like a good way to get people out to the rink, enjoy some hockey. It's always going to be a high-quality matchup, but especially when you've got one between two teams like Syracuse and URI, these fans will get what they bargained for tonight.
Slap shot from Saint-Sauveur is off the skate, and now Peter Owen Hayward goes inside out, but a great job from the Rams captain, Saint-Sauveur, to wall him off. Played it well, and Hayward will rip it in from the blue line. Save there for Ketzenberger, and you can just see the explosiveness from Hayward. Really tall figure. I almost think we get used to sometimes his skill set, but it's his skating that can really, really set him apart.
Yeah, I mean, if not for a great defensive play from Saint-Sauveur, Hayward's going to be in on net alone on the back end of that play. So you can just see it's that matchup nightmare that he can make a one-on-one and make it a 1-on-0 with his skill and his speed.
Luke Cato shoots it in. Syracuse on the delay offside. McNamara now finally realizes, but that allows the rush to begin for Eddie Cordero. Stood up at neutral ice. McNamara just as quickly, though, gives it away, and the Rams will dump in. To the right of Kuzo, Brezzi goes. Rips it around the far side. McNamara takes a hard cross-check legally. Moves the puck for Cato. Dangles dangerously right by the goal line. Now looks north. Lucas Prestamo, possibly 3-on-2 for Syracuse if they hurry, but he elects to dump it in, and Lambert will go in on the forecheck.
And that play right there from Luke Cato, exactly what I'm talking about with patience from a blue line. He picks it up behind his own net rather than just try to fire it off the boards or along the boards up ahead. He takes the time, possesses the puck, makes a nice move with it, and then finds his outlet. Doesn't lead to an offensive chance, but that was only because he had forwards that were near the end of their shift. If he's got guys at the beginning of their shift, he's got an odd man rush that he created just by that split second of patience.
He's been, if not the most important defenseman for Syracuse this year. Jacobs to carry on the right wing. Nice backhand pass. Delay penalty upcoming. The Rams will touch up. Matt Jacobs taking in harsh to the near side boards. And the Orange will go to the power play for the first time tonight.
Franzizi's going to want that one back. Should have had that backhand shot in on net. He was looking for a pass the whole way, but if he flips up a backhand, he maybe catches the goaltender, Ketzenberger, sleeping on that a little bit, but instead puts that backhander into the middle of the crease, and now Syracuse heads to the man advantage.
Syracuse power play firing at a 20% mark this season. The penalty kill for the Rams only at 75. We'll see if the Orange can capitalize here off an early opportunity. Luke Vendetto sits for 2 for cross-checking, but an early clear for the Rams penalty kill. Orange scored a couple of power play goals last weekend against Rutgers. And Jacobs will carry out, leave way for Cato, who finds some space on the left side with Ford Hatchett, the big defenseman, hands off, but his pass is intercepted. Back-to-back clears for the Rams, a good start for the penalty kill.
Yeah, great job by the Rams penalty killers, just getting to those loose pucks, jumping on top of them right away, and then making a quick play, quick outlet, getting it out of your zone, force the power play to turn around, have to set up in their own end, and then get things started.
Hayward stick checked at the line, and Franzese will have to reload. Over the Orange, yes. Takes a big hit for his troubles, and he's not able to keep puck possession, sent all the way down 200 feet from where the Orange want to have it. And Sean Messick will start things over halfway through the power play for Syracuse.
And just a lazy play there. You want to hold on to the puck a little bit more before you're going to flip it out of the zone like that. Just doesn't make a lot of sense for Syracuse to not be trying to enter. And again, another bad play there on the zone entry for the power play. You want to be a little bit smoother on that end, because if you can't set up your power play, you're never going to be able to score on it. So Syracuse really needs to hamper down, try to get into the zone. Obviously, great gap play here from URI, but this is the sort of zone entry they needed.
Keith Lambert with some fancy footwork over the blue line, and Syracuse can finally set up Messick to throw it in, and it's sticked away by Ketzenberg to the back glass. Franzese setting up below the goal line. Saucer pass to Lambert, couldn't get a shot away. He had his stick lifted. Franzese down low, 15 seconds to go on the power play. Sean Messick working near side. Van Ramstonk looking to feed it out. Franzese had gotten dumped, and the Rams can go back 2-on-2 with 5 seconds to go on the power play. Carrying over the line is Alsfeld. Leaves it, wrist shot. That one off the body of Sean Messick. Joey Pucciarelli straight off the bench, and Syracuse now back to 5-on-5. Successful penalty kill for the Rams, as Jonathan Alsfeld goes for a spill trying to dump Joey Pucciarelli, and he saw it all the way and blocked it.
Got an earful doing it, too. He was looking for Pucciarelli the whole way.
Rosen deflected, high slot. Harrington missing by the near side post. Padalino to send it in, glove down by Kyle McKenna. 7 minutes to go here in the first period. No score from Tennity. Shots in favor of the Orange, 3-1. 0 for 1 on the power play as the puck is flipped high over the head of Joseph Augustine, the head coach for the Rams, into the bench, and we'll get a face-off.
And obviously the power play sort of complicates things for you from a line perspective, but I would want my fourth line getting into this game a little bit earlier than 7 minutes in. You've got the big crowd like we touched on, and what's going to get the crowd out of their seats other than an early goal, but a few big hits, some physical play, and this fourth line has shown that they could bring plenty of it. Surprised that we didn't see them earlier on in this game, but now a big shift there, and you could see the momentum start to shift as they continue to hammer on the forecheck, just keep working with the body.
Can already see that this is a very physical Rhode Island team. Any chance they get to take a run, Someone legally with the puck there doing so. Trying to set the tempo early. Turned over and deflected high slot. Whistling high and leaves a dent in the back glass. Nathaniel Gray with a high slot tip, and it didn't miss by much.
Dangerous tip there.
Hayward feeds Franzese, trying to return the favor. And the big sophomore from Vermont was dumped down to the ice. Battled for behind the goal line. Jacobs fed it in front. Franzese was stood up once again. Trying to go to that dirty area, but he's paying a pretty significant price at the moment. Dangling in is Billy Dubois. Connor Preston out there for a shift on defense for Syracuse. And we mentioned how short-numbered they are on the back end, and that's forced the freshman forward to at least play defense sometime momentarily. Turned over in the Syracuse defensive end. With it behind the cage is Mark Mattson. Peels away from the pressure, cycles it down low for a teammate. Padalino applying the defense. The Rams look to get the cycle game going, but a great job from Prestamo to interstep and start the offense going back the other way. And there'll be icing on the Orange, and Keith Lambert with his hands by his hips as he was trying to make a rush at that puck, but the linesman got in the way.
Yeah, and a quick flip there for Syracuse, but it all starts with that bad play in the defensive zone. It was a great back check by Prestamo to look for the pass, look for the play, anticipate on defense, and then start the breakout. But then he forced that breakout pass up in the air all the way down the ice. It's you do two good things and one bad thing, and you wind up in your own zone taking a D-zone drop.
And it always seems like, as it comes with most teams, but especially with a Syracuse team that relies so much on speed that, when their breakouts and crisp or clean possessing the puck out of their own zone, things usually work out a little bit better offensively than when they get into that kind of rhythm of dumping and chasing and, kind of just sending it 200 feet. And we'll see if Syracuse can get back to that. They had that started through the first couple of minutes, but an unsuccessful power play has kind of taken the momentum away from them. Give the Rams credit. They're pressing very, very hard here in their offensive zone. They win the draw. To the right of Kuzo, peeling with it near corner is Rankin. Throws it out in front loose, and a rebound put just wide by Pasola. Jacobs tries to go to the right wing. It bounced up by the blue, and Cato had to force it neutral. Dumped in, and Luke Cato can go right behind Michael Kuzo. Reverses it, but gives it up. Turned over at the top of the left, it's Cordero. Works the line, looking for a tip, and it whistles wide of the near post. Jacob to get to the rebounds first, but he bounces it right back to the paint. Now Matt Jacobs with a little more time and a better feed, but it hops over the stick of Trip Franzese.
Usually so good in time and space there. Just two bad outlet passes from Matt Jacobs there trying to get out of the zone.
Nice feed over the blue line for Salisbury. His shot saved by Kuzo. Got it with a stick. Brandon Peters starts the rush with Joey Pucciarelli. A little bit too far out in front of him, though, and he loses possession. Has to start over at neutral ice. Connor Preston playing as a defenseman over the blue line. Wrist shot. Rebounds loose in the blue. Diving play by Eddie Cordero. I don't think Ketzenberger knew that rebound was loose.
And a dangerous little play. Where does it come from? Your freshman forward turned defenseman in on the rush. That's a nice little play there, and I guess that's one of the benefits you have of getting an offensive player to go back to the blue line. He can add a little bit when he skates up on net, has a little bit of time and space. And, just back to Connor Preston, it's so tough on him as a player. He's really starting to come through offensively. Now he's forced to come back on defense and really have a contribution to this team. That's not his natural spot. A tough situation for a freshman adjusting to the game, having to adjust even more.
Van Ramsdonk behind his own net. A couple of good opportunities here for the Rams, and smart play from Colin Morrow to just chip it down the ice, and puck goes on edge, luckily for Syracuse, so no icing. They can complete that change, and to your point, James, although it may seem as a negative to have a forward play on the back end, obviously there's spacing things that you have to worry about, but he also could bring an offensive edge as Van Ramsdonk walks in towards the slot. Couldn't get out of his skates to force a shot, but he gets it to the top left point. Ford Hatchett walking the line, puts a snapshot on, saved by Ketzenberg, and the rebound to the far boards. Van Ramsdonk in there. Wallows back out to the left point. Nice move at the line by Ford Hatchett to get his shot through. Van Ramsdonk to cycle it down low for Harrington. Van Ramsdonk still with it. Harrington puts a weak backhander, and it's not able to get through. It'll be sent down the ice, and Ford Hatchett does a great job, it seems like, every time. Something you usually see from the smaller maybe more able-bodied defenseman to get those shots through, but he does a really good job of creating space for himself at the blue line.
Yeah, still such a young player for this Syracuse team, but you can see his offensive instincts have been there since shift one of game one. He's really just been a very talented player in that end. The points haven't yet come at a clip as I'm sure he'd like them to come, but he's a young player with a bright future ahead of him with the offensive instincts that he's shown, especially in a league like this in the ACHA where there really is so much high-moving offense.
Steven Brezzi to hand off for Keith Lambert. Dangles inside out by the corner. Throws it all the way through the blue paint. Nobody home. Brezzi there to snag it. His snapshot didn't make it through. Lucas Prestamo, the freshman, fighting by the far corner. Lambert to get it back to the point. Brezzi, wrist shot, tape, rebound. Oh, right by the doorstep. Prestamo wasn't able to dig it in.
Great stick there from the goaltender, Ketzenberger, to keep that one out.
Chugging down the left wing is Nathaniel Gray. Drops it off Caruso. Brezzi to intercept. Pass up to the blue line. Jacobs puts it on a tee for Prestamo. And Cato in a battle at the red line. Wisely just dumps it in with 7:30 to go in the first period. No score between Syracuse and Rhode Island. The first of two meetings this weekend. They'll play tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. You can hear that one right here on the SU Hockey Network as well. Michael Kuzo out of his cage. Leaves it for David Rosen. Dangles behind the goal line with Mark Matson applying the pressure. Hayward to go glove to stick, but he was bunted down and it's held in at the blue line. Fanned on the wrist shot was Matthew Kowash, and Syracuse can start back the other way. Peter Owen Hayward winds up a slapper, and it rolls slowly in on Ketzenberger, and he gets a whistle. Stick from Eddie Cordero, and you could tell that Rams read the scouting report on Peter Owen Hayward because they're doing a really good job of not giving him a whole lot of time and space right by that top of the blue line.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you have to do if you're playing really any great player is just suffocate them in the offensive zone, force someone else to beat you. URI has done a really good job of that through the first few minutes of this game.
6:55 to go here in the first period. No score from Tennity. Syracuse 13-4-1, ranked 20th in the country. Rams ranked 25th. They do battle here in upstate New York. Owen Harrington behind the goal line. Fought for by Billy Dubois. Gets it out to the top. Messick's shot right into the body of Jake Salisbury, and he looks to start the rush back the other way. Michael Pasola feeds it back to Salisbury. The shot, what a save by Kuzo. Got that right pad to drag all the way across the post. A big save for the Syracuse goaltender to keep it scoreless.
Every millimeter of that 6'1", 195-pound frame for Michael Kuzo used to reach out and make that save. That was a really good job to get that toe out there.
Loose out in the slot, another blocker save by Kuzo. Tested a couple of times in the past 30 seconds. And now a whistle, hand pass called on the Rams. Gorgeous work between Michael Pasola and Jake Salisbury to create a little space in the slot. And once Salisbury got past, Kuzo was just a little bit better with that pad.
Yeah, good offensive output from URI in the past few minutes. But really, if I'm the Syracuse coaching staff, I'm pretty upset with my blue line performance so far. It just seems to be a lot of indecisiveness in the back end for Syracuse. Just be decisive on the puck. Even if you make the mistake, you're better off making a mistake like that than letting the puck go free. Because if you give these players time and space, especially a team that's ranked in the top 25 in the country, they're going to make you pay for it.
Their own end, Brandon Peters forced along the wall, stuck in a battle. Brezzi looking to dig it out, and it's quickly wristed behind the cage. Luke Cato applies the pressure. Skating onto it is Colin Morrow. Pulls it back, and Syracuse struggling to break it out here with under 6 to go in the first period. Pass a little bit too far in front for Brandon Peters, and it rolls all the way in on Ketzenberger, and he has no choice but to hold it in the blue paint for a face-off with 5:22. Joey Pucciarelli going hard into the end boards. No surprise he's mixing it up early on. And, we talked about the scouting report on Peter Owen Hayward. You'd have to think the reputation of Pucciarelli has maybe scraped its way across the league a little bit, because it does kind of seem like in their first few minutes, he always has a couple of hits targeted at him.
Yeah, well, the emotions for love and hate are psychologically very close to each other, right? So it would make you remember that pretty quickly when a player has been as pesky and as high intensity, high effort as Joey Pucciarelli's been throughout his Syracuse career.
He sure has, though. He's producing at a much higher rate offensively, that is, this season. He's picked up some of the slack, and Also provides that edge and usually, for the most part, keeps a pretty level head, walks that line very well. Definitely a key contributor to this Orange team. Connor Preston skating as a defenseman today and skating well as he takes it into the offensive zone, lays out his man. Lambert, a slap shot from the blue paint, and it was ripped high and wide. Connor McNamara curling by the circle, off the skates of Padalino, and a possible break here for Nathaniel Gray. Down the left wing, shot, score! Nathaniel Gray goes upstairs on Michael Kuzo on a semi-breakaway, and the Rams break the ice with 4:43 to go in the first period. It's 1-0 Rhode Island.
Well, it all starts with that bad play from Jacob Padalino at the blue line. Just mishandled that pass in on net. Wasn't able to fire in a shot, but really, he's not alone here. This Syracuse blue line has really struggled through the first portion of this first period. A lot of ill-advised pinches. They don't just seem to be playing with that level of decisiveness like I was saying before.
Nathaniel Gray's 7th goal of the season gives the Rams a 1-0 lead with 4:30 to go in the first period. The Orange behind the 8 ball against the top 25 team in the nation. Ford Hatchett behind his own end. Fends off the pressure and gives way to another freshman defenseman who returns the favor back to Hatchett. Ford Hatchett over the blue line. Leaves it for Hayward. Slap shot. Whistles wide and knocked the stick out of Billy Dubois' hands.
And that's just another great play there between Sean Messick and Ford Hatchett. They've been paired up since they came into the ACHA for Syracuse this year, and they've really developed some nice chemistry. That little back and forth is not something you see between players that have not played on a line together for a significant period of time. A nice little play there from Ford Hatchett and Sean Messick, and Syracuse is going to need a lot more than its blue line to get into this one if they're going to be really fighting back. They have not had anywhere near the better of play through the early portion of this game, and they're really going to have to get things going really in all 3 phases if they're going to want to stick around in this one. URI is a talented team, and if they don't wake up, they could be paying the price for that.
Well, we talked about it earlier in the open. First game between these two squads last year was a 6-2 thrashing for the Rams here at Tennity. Turned over, Joey Pucciarelli by the far corner. Backhands it out in front. What a save by Ketzenberg. The rebound still loose. Is it in? The Orange is celebrating right in front of the blue paint. No single yet. That one didn't go in. We might as well just hand the Vezina trophy to John Ketzenberger because there were 3 or 4 whacks from about 2 inches away, and somehow the URI goaltender was able to keep it out.
Even if it did go in on that second chance, which the referee seemed to be saying that it didn't, that was a sensational first save from Ketzenberger. I don't know how he was able to get that full split out there, block that shot out. An incredible save from Ketzenberger. And we said it before in the game, when you've got a goaltender that's playing the large majority of your games, there's usually a reason for that. And we saw it on display on that last save, a fantastic one from John Ketzenberger.
Incredible stuff to keep this a 1-0 game in favor of Rhode Island. Nathaniel Gray, the only goal scorer this afternoon, coming just a couple of minutes ago on a partial breakaway down the left wing, and he beat Michael Kuzo upstairs over the glove. Tyler Ains tied up by the red line. Good forecheck, and not a lot of time and space for Syracuse to work with as Pisola works his way in, and he's stood up by Connor Preston. Big hit from the freshman defender. Syracuse starts to get into it physically, and Rhode Island throws it up and out of play.
And he's a fantastically physical player from really anywhere on the ice, but Jacob Preston putting it all on display on that last play. Just a fantastic hit, cleaned him out, but it all started because of less than desirable defensive play in the D zone by David Rosen. Syracuse already trying to scramble up the lines a little bit, try some different things offensively, hopefully get a little bit of a spark, and that's not something you want to be doing in the first period of a game against a divisional rival. You never want to be in that position.
Under 3 to go in the first period. Hatchett to flip it out. Lucas Prestamo to pick up over the red line, now the blue. Leaves for Lambert, curls and toe drags. Deflected by Prestamo off the apron of the net. The Rams can come back the other way, 3-on-2, maybe if they hurry. Evan Rankin right down the gut, moves it to his left for Salisbury. Nice back check from Prestamo to force the turnover, and Syracuse can exchange with a try as McNamara sends it in. Lambert first in on the forecheck. Carried by Jake Salisbury. Had that gorgeous setup and was denied by the pad of Michael Kuzo just moments before Rhode Island did open the scoring.
Well, I can tell you right now, through the early portion of this game, Syracuse not playing at the top of its game overall, but one line that certainly is that first line with Lucas Prestamo, Keith Lambert, and Syracuse just they seem to have that whole setup coming together offensively. It just seems to be like that's everything that they're looking for from their whole team is coming from just one line worth of production. They've got to get it going from other ends if they're going to be able to come out successful in that.
Pucciarelli leaves it for Colin Morrow. Now Pooch to pick it up behind the cage. His backhander was blocked by the stick of Boulos. He falls down to the ice, and the Rams can counter. Over the blue line comes Billy Dubois, defenseman for the Rams. Send it into the corner. Luke Cato to skate to it near side and forces it back for Stephen Brezzi. Just about 80 seconds to go in the first period, and the Orange looks slow at the moment. Not able to get it clear once again up at the top of the blue line. Held in. Franzese chips it for Stephen Brezzi. Defenseman to lead the rush. Chips and chases into his offensive zone. Stephen Brezzi cycles down low for Franzese. Rides the boards well. And Peter Owen Hayward in there to pick it up. Fought for. Hayward out of the corner. Jacobs protecting on his backhand. Fed right out in front. High in the air. Leapt for by Hayward. Messick to body it down. And the Rams can get it clear, courtesy of Luke Vendetto.
And a little bit of sign of life from Syracuse there. It all starts with a great rush from Stephen Brezzi, and then the Syracuse first line putting in a good effort.
Turned over, though, at the blue line. Caruso kept it in momentarily, and it forces Syracuse back on its heels with 30 seconds to go in the first period. And Rosen with his back to the pressure.
And this is generally a pretty good sign for if Syracuse is playing well or not, but they should be leading in the shot total in every game that they play. They're currently being outshot 8-6 by URI in this first period. Very indicative of the play from the Orange.
Ben Mello with 10 to go in the frame. Gives it back to Rosen. He brings it free to neutral ice. D go the Rams. On the money for Ben Mello. Dumps it right in on Kuzo, but illegally. Offsides called against Rhode Island with 1.7 seconds to go in the first period. 1-0 lead for the Rams. Goal scored off the tape of Nathaniel Gray, his 7th of the season. And the Orange, as you just mentioned, James, behind in the shot totals, a very, very rare occurrence that we've almost never seen in a period, let alone a game at this point. And just formalities to go here. Puck dropped. Van Ramsdonk ties it up. The buzzer sounds, and that will do it for the first 20 minutes of play. 1-0 lead for the Rams here on Greek Life Night at Tennity Ice Pavilion. Great crowd on hand, though they're not seeing the result they want at the moment. We'll see if Syracuse can pick it up in the second period. We'll bring you that in just a few moments. Keep it right here on the SU Hockey Network. Welcome back inside the Tennity Ice Pavilion on the campus of Syracuse University. The second period coming your way. The Orange trail the Rams 1-0 after 20 minutes of play. The lone goal coming out this tape of Nathaniel Gray with about 3.5 minutes to go. Back in that first period, able to beat Michael Kuzo high over the top left glove. And James, it was a Syracuse team that only put up 6 shots in that first period, and they trail in that category 8-6. And we were talking about it a little bit towards the end. That's a very rare occurrence to see Syracuse get outshot in a period.
Yeah, well, Dana, let's not put lipstick on a pig here. That was just not a very good period from Syracuse in the first 20 minutes. It was evident from the first 5 minutes that they were just going to be sleepwalking through that. The good news is that they're only down 1-0 at the end of that period, though, which is actually a really good thing for Syracuse, because you watch that first period, it could easily be 2-3 or 4-0 if not for some stellar goaltending from Michael Kuzo and a few good offensive rushes and chances towards the back end of the period. It was really a not subpar period for Syracuse, but fortunately they weren't buried by it, and now's a big chance in these first 5 minutes of the second to get back.
And we're underway from the second period, 1-0 lead for the Rams. They'll skate left to right across your computer screen. Syracuse going right to left. Right off the draw, it's the Rams who possess in the offensive zone, scraped down by Brezzi. Hayward to go and chase, forcing St. Sauveur on his end. He's been doing a really nice job defensively for the Rams. The captain for Rhode Island, who's pretty much stuck right on Hayward the entire way. In the offensive zone, Salisbury cycles it down low, finds Michael Pasola, returns the favor, and this is the line that's been getting it going for the Rams. Thrown in from the point off the tape of McKenna, and Brezzi can sky it out east-west. Hayward lays a big hit. We saw Syracuse picking up the physicality a little bit towards the end of that first period, but for the most part, that sort of play was controlled almost entirely by the Rams. Good lead pass for Keith Lambert. Pulls up by the top of the circle, waits for his options, tries to pick the corner, and a blocker save made by Ketzenberger.
Keith Lambert he's really just coming into his own as a player this year. We've seen it throughout this whole season, but he just seems to have just such a boatload of confidence and skill every time he touches the puck. And it was always there. You could always see those flashes, but it really seems to have put it together during this season, and that's a good thing for Syracuse.
Face-off win, and Hatchet let it go from the blue line, and it was deflected by a massive humanity and kept right in between the circles. Coming back the other way, William Schlichtig pulls up, dumps in behind. Lucas Prestamo, the freshman, to get to it first. Directly off the glass. Hayward with a big hit. Makes Kyle McKenna pay for his dump. Thrown right in on net. Kuzo had the right pad down. Able to get it and fly it out to neutral ice. Maybe that's a key for Syracuse here. If they can start putting the body on a little bit more, try and tilt the ice back the other way.
Just need something to get the team going. Just seems like the energy wasn't there during those first 20 minutes. Maybe that physical play can help bring a little bit of a spark to this offensive team. Something to get some offensive zone time to get a few chances in front of the net.
And it's kind of surprising considering the great crowd there is here at Tennity as the Rams come back in. Mello, his shot blocked by Messick, who was down on all fours.
Fantastic defensive play from Messick there. Just a great play to recognize it, dive down in front of it, and then block that pass.
Freshman's been making little plays like that all year. Wrist shot from the left point, deflected high and above the net by Ben Mello. Now Keith Lambert finds it down the left wing. Dangles past one defender, gets put up against the boards, but pulls up with the puck. Feeds the right side. Shot coming off the tape of Tyler Ains straight off the bench. Good save for Ketzenberger, the first one he's had to face so far this period.
Usually this isn't a great strategy for Syracuse offensively, but they seem to be having some success with those fly route passes, looking for those far guys on the rush. And if that just causes the defense to have to sort of respect that with their spacing, it'll open up more space throughout the shorter and neutral zone sides of the ice, allow Syracuse a little bit more time to operate on the forecheck.
Deflected in by the Rams. Kuzo behind his cage to leave it for Rosen. Up the near side for Tyler Ains. Tries to start the rush. Leaves it for Joey Pucciarelli, who chips in, and he'll go after it himself. Nicholas Kopsik taken into the boards by Pooch by the far side corner. Ains trying to dig it out, but instead it's the Rams, courtesy of Matthew Kowash. They go in 3-on-2. Mayer down the right wing, back to Kowash, and a save made by Kuzo with a paddle. Fed right out into the slot. Pucciarelli dives, and a great play to expose Matt Jacobs through the neutral zone. Jacobs has Franzese breaking. A good save by Ketzenberger with Franzese right on the doorstep, and he'll hold it. And Pucciarelli with a big smile on his face as he starts getting the physicality going.
And, hey, let's credit that little offensive sequence to some good goaltending for Syracuse. It all started with a great save by Michael Kuzo, and it wasn't a particularly difficult play. It was just a low blocker side shot. But he directed his rebound so well that it not only stopped the offensive rush for URI, but actually created one for Syracuse, which led to that chance in the offensive end.
Draw to the left of Ketzenberger, tied up and now eventually taken by Salisbury down the left wing. Tries to dump it in, but the big frame of Luke Cato blocks it down, and now Franzese can get on his horse. Over the blue line, pulls up by the far side circle, still with it, looking for options, sends it across. Off the tape of Preston, a slap shot, save made, and a great job by Cordero to spank the rebound. Trying to fly it through for Pasola. Cato cut it off and keeps it in neutral ice. Hayward with a big hit in the middle zone, and Cato can go back and send it directly off the glass. Didn't really have a play. Just didn't want to turn the puck over, and Hayward's big check forces the puck into the URI bench with 15:44 to go in the first period. We mentioned it's Greek Life Night here at Tennity, the first annual, and it's brought a great crowd into the stands. Both their sororities and fraternities, I believe, are the two, James. I'm not the most well-versed in this sort of thing, but nevertheless, it's brought in a ton of people here to see a really good Orange team.
Yeah, neither of us particularly upset about the attendance tonight. Always fun to have a good crowd on hand. Be able to get the crowd into it for Syracuse is really the big challenge here.
Over the blue line, offside. Vendetto a step early. Free pizza, free hot chocolate. Well, actually, no, you have to pay for the hot chocolate. I found that out the hard way during the intermission. A hefty $3, but it was all well worth it. And
it's good hot chocolate.
It is very good hot chocolate.
Yeah, let's give credit where it's due.
Part of the great event here that the Syracuse media team has done a fantastic job of putting together. Big promotional schedule. Next up, Saturday, February 3rd, will be Swipe Right Night against Stony Brook. I don't even want to know what that is quite yet. Sent into the URIN, an icing called on Syracuse. It'll come back the other way with 15:27 to go.
So, you know what? You could count me wrong about one of the players on this Syracuse team this year, and that guy is Connor Preston. He's been doing it all from really every different end of this Syracuse team. He's been doing it on the blue line, doing it as a forward, but I think the thing that I was so wrong about when I first saw him play is he's such a physical player. You kind of tag him in that fourth or bottom six role, but he has so much offensive skill. He can make anything happen on really any shift.
Turned over, McNamara drops it for Pucciarelli, backhander towards the front. And Keith Lambert gingerly skating over to the SU bench. Back the other way, Alsfeld dangles in, walled off by Ford Hatchett physically, and now McNamara leads the pass for Peters, briefly off his tape. And the Rams can get back control in their own end with 5 gone in the second period. Still a 1-0 lead for the Rams. Shots in favor of URI, 2-5 this period. Thrown out in front, and Pucciarelli misses it blindly on the right post. Tossed toward the net once again, but right on the tape of Josh Boulos, who feeds it forward. Front of the bench, Luke Vendetto. Only guilty party today of an infraction. He sat for 2 back in the first period, but the Orange weren't able to capitalize on the lone power play of the game. To a side, battling below the goal line. Falling down is Vendetto. And Ains can start back the other way. Brandon Peters right down the gut. Now moves out to his right, and he gets sent down by Maxwell St. Sauveur, the captain for the Rams, who's been all over the place tonight, making small little plays and big hits like that as well. Good curl and drag by Caruso on the backhand, and he drives the net, puts one on Kuzo. Now fed out high into the slot, briefly off the tape of Nathaniel Gray, the goal scorer. And he takes a puck right off of his mask. That was looking to send it in for the Rams, and he kept that and moved it back in. Catalino takes a big hit. Tossed right out in the slot. Franzese to get to it first in his own defensive end. Once again, just a relentless forecheck by the Rams here.
Yeah, Syracuse having all sorts of trouble with the breakout. It's just been kind of a recurrent theme tonight.
Another turnover out in front. They score! Ben Mello with some nifty hands in tight. Gets Kuzo on his belly, and the Rams have a 2-0 lead.
They just got ground down on that forecheck. URI doing everything right in the offensive zone. Even when they don't have the puck, they're making the right play, and they're putting themselves in a position to do the right thing with it. And then finally, they make the nice finish on that play. Not much Michael Kuzo could do to stop that one. It was just really a one-on-one with the goaltender and a great move to D. Kuzo out of position and put in the open net.
And it came off a turnover, as you mentioned, James, and it's been a problem through these first 27 minutes of play. Luckily for the Orange, still a ton of hockey left to be played, but they do trail by 2 goals. They could use a response quickly. Hayward in the high slot, shot deflected wide. Matt Jacobs to force it in behind the end board. Staples in Cordero. Franzese digs it out. Nifty move to pull away from the pressure and tries the far side. Trip Franzese by the far side circle, bunted out, and a great stick by Mark Matson. That forces Connor Preston to go back. Uses the net as a screen, but his pass for Brezzi is offline. Connor Preston moves it to his right for Hayward, where he goes high off the half glass. The Rams can send it right back in. 2-0 lead for URI. Leading in the shots as well. Lead pass for Prestamo misses, but maybe a rebound. Diving out was Ketzenberger, and possibly ill-advised, because if Prestamo was able to get tape on that, he was going to put that in.
Really a low percentage angle from Prestamo. Even with the bounce, not much he could do with that.
Over the line, Lambert saucer pass for Prestamo. Backhand save by Ketzenberger with a left pad.
Great play from a tight angle there from Prestamo to get a shot off. He had a defender on his back, was still able to get a backhand in on net. That's a really impressive play.
Seems like Syracuse might be waking up a little bit here with back-to-back good offensive shifts. Prestamo not able to create the turnover behind the cage. Rams sky it out to neutral ice. Messick takes a big hit into the penalty box, but does get it over to Lambert down the left side. He's hip-checked. That from Billy Dubois. Set behind the cage. Lambert ducks off of one hit. Fed out through the slot, and it splits the defenders. Sean Messick will have to go back all the way down the rink.
And the right idea there from Connor McNamara to try to put that pass through the slot. He had 2 Syracuse skaters there, just couldn't find a home.
Turned over behind the goal line. Pesola feeds it out to the top. Shot, score! A bomb from the blue line off the tape of Josh Boulos. 3-0 Rams with 11:37 to go in the second.
And Syracuse just caught in the midst of a bad change, some defensive zone miscommunication. Nobody knew where that puck was going, and then Michael Kuzo forced to make a play on it with his paddle. Unfortunately, that save forced that puck all the way back to the point, to the waiting stick of that URI defenseman to blast that one home. And Syracuse falls down 3-0, and just a poor performance tonight continues. And now it looks like the Syracuse coaching staff finally trying to do something to right some wrongs.
First goal of the season for the defenseman Josh Boulos makes it 3-0, and it is a timeout for the Orange. Syracuse currently sitting around second and third place. They've been teetering back and forth in the ESCHL standings. Rhode Island all the way in second to last place. Only 6 divisional points they've collected so far this season, but right now taking the play to the Orange, and it seemed like over those last couple of minutes after URI scored their second goal of this season, or excuse me, of this game, there was a pushback from the Orange. They were starting to put a couple of shifts together, get the lines rolling, but that bomb just sucks the momentum.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much Syracuse can do about that third goal, but the unfortunate part of that is that they've really done so much. They've done so much to sort of generate some offensive opportunities, generate some possession, and to have that all squandered by that third goal, it's a tough thing for Syracuse. Now you just got to refocus, try to score a quick goal, get back into this game, cut it back down to 2.
Still plenty of time for Syracuse, trailing by 3 with 11:30 to go in the second period. But 2 second period goals from Mello and Boulos have extended the advantage for URI. The Orange still with single-digit shots.
And I really like that decision by Syracuse head coach Nick Pierandri to take that timeout. Yes, it was definitely needed, but it's a smart call, too, because you could see that the sort of composure was being lost by the Syracuse team during the past few minutes of the game. They were getting really frustrated with the forecheck for URI. This gives your team a second to take a breather, refocus on the game, and sort of figure out a way forward, which is exactly what Syracuse needs right now.
And it would be helpful with a clean breakout. They get one here. Peters to take it at neutral ice and send it in. He's the first one in. Misses his check of St. Sauveur. will start the rush back the other way. Goes near side off the boards geometrically for Alsfeld. Loses his footing. Hayward feeds Franzese over the blue line. Dangles past one. Hayward to snag it. Back down low, and it misses the tape of Franzese. Connor Preston, defenseman, to send it in behind the cage. Franzese has Jacobs with him, fighting off the pressure of Saint-Sauveur. Franzese's able to win the battle. Good possession here for the Orange below the goal line. Pinballing by the near side, now out to the top. Preston down to his belly to keep it in, but he gives it off right to URI, and they can come back 3-on-2. Luke Vendetto over the blue line. Shot saved by Kuzo. An easy one right on the tape of his stick. Hayward hauled down. No call coming. Padalino now forced back. Pulls away. Finds Hayward. Delays. Gives it to pass to Jacobs, but it's stuck in his skates. The Orange just look a half second off here in this second period. Mello down the right wing, trying to feed the slot. Padalino with a good stick there to force the turnover. Try and start a rush back the other way, and that one somehow kept in at the blue. Only momentarily, though. Jacobs takes a big hit. Prestamo looking to go 1 against 2. Pulls up and beats one. And you could just tell that Syracuse is getting hounded. No time and space for these forwards to make a play.
And you can see the physicality starting to step up from Syracuse. The issue is the physicality has been there all night from URI. They're only just matching.
You could think that maybe a goal would go a long way here to spark some energy into this Syracuse team. Rebound out, loose in the slot. Lambert couldn't get to it first. Sent all the way around the roulette wheel. Prestamo, the initial player there, takes a big hit from McKenna. Walled in behind the half boards. Prestamo still trying to dig it out. Now all 3 forwards for Syracuse looking for it. Near side circle, Prestamo, spin around, try. Tucks it out into the slot, and it's flipped high into the Orange bench. And a nice play made by Joey Pucciarelli. Catch for the third out of the inning. No, it'll just go as a face-off. 9 minutes to go in the second period.
Reminds me of a face-off, a catch in the stands from a certain broadcast earlier last year.
I'm glad you brought
around
that.
This time.
We haven't talked nearly enough about that. That was an impressive snag I made. Not to toot my own horn, but that's a story for another time. Face-off won by Syracuse. Shot, score! Tyler Ains sellies in front of the Orange fans. There's the goal they're looking for. It's 3-1 URI.
And a huge goal for Syracuse. Hopefully this can inject some life into this team. And you started to see it during those last few shifts. Really felt like offensively they were starting to get some rush, starting to get something going. Let's not get anything wrong here. That's a softie from John Katzenberger, but Syracuse needed that, and they got a reward for all of their efforts that they've had tonight, especially in the past few minutes, to really get back in this game, putting in some good work on the forecheck, some good few shifts. Now keep it up. Don't let off the gas now. You've started to get some momentum. Let's ride it forward.
Tyler Ains' third goal of the year. The freshman has broken the ice for Syracuse here. It comes just about halfway through regulation. Pucciarelli gets the lone assist. And now it looks like Syracuse has some life here. Just about halfway through this game. Rams looking to come back the other way. Nice dangle by Salisbury over the blue line. Gains the offensive zone. Immediately taking the boards by Padalino. Van Ramsdonk in to help. And he sniffs it out. Dangerously sent right up on the blue line. Kept in by Dubois. Pulls up. Wrist shot. Whistles wide by the far side. Thrown on net once again. Good response shift from the Rams after surrendering their first goal of this game. Shot whistles all the way around the far side. Josh Boulos, third goal scorer for the Rams, sends it up to the red line. Pass Padalino. Connor Preston waits for it and chucks it up into the netting, and probably not a bad play as his team was in the midst of a change. 7:51 to go in the second period. Now a 3-1 game. Starts to get interesting. James obviously was a great shot from that high slot. It almost looked like Ains was a little surprised with how much time and space he had. Nevertheless, he was able to beat Ketzenberger. Maybe a weak goal at that. It's the 11th shot on net, and finally Syracuse able to beat the URI goaltender.
And they needed that goal. That was really, really important. Just a few minutes ago after that timeout, I said the biggest thing that they could do is just look for that first goal. Now this really changes the tide of this game. Just a 2-goal lead. There's a lot that can happen for either team. Just one bounce the right way, and you're one away from tying this one up.
It's the scenario where you're down, where the next goal is the biggest one always, as Lambert throws it all the way blue, and no one was home to push it in. Lead pass tipped in by Evan Rankin. Tumbling puck in on Kuzo, ever dangerous. And he wisely is able to glove it. He'll hold for a face-off, and James, of course, 3-0. The goal is to try and score next and just get yourself a little bit of momentum. But now, once again, this next one's huge. You don't want to fall back down that 3-goal deficit. Not to say there isn't a lot of time, but if you can smell just a 1-goal game, you really got to just try and be a little more hungry at this stage in the contest. Face-off win for Syracuse. Jacobs moves it for Franzese. It was stripped away from him in neutral ice and sent all the way back in. Cato takes a huge hit, but does move it to Brezzi. Touch pass on the money for Franzese. Now for Jacobs. Moves past a dangerous hit at the blue line. And once again, these Orange defenders, they're in a track meet right now, going back after URI just keeps sending every dump in. As Brezzi showing some impressive moves down the right wing. Evades 2 or 3 checks. Able to get the offensive zone, but once again, not with possession. That's really been the storyline so far tonight. Hayward, great hands at the red line. Syracuse can go in 3-on-2. Winds up a slap shot into the body of Ketzenberger, and he'll hold with 6:25 to go in the second. Syracuse evening up those shots numbers, and it's evident with the play.
And they've really started to tilt the ice back to even, back to their advantage just a little bit, and that's what they needed. But something I'd like to see them try in the next few minutes here is Syracuse really has had a few times where they could look for those cross-ice passes, look for little plays, little passing setups to start an offensive rush that they haven't gotten. And you could see URI starting to anticipate those singular possession takes for Syracuse into the offensive end. If they can just get a few cross-ice passes, try a few different outlet looks when they're trying to enter the zone, it'll throw off this URI defensive setup, and it'll create a lot of open space for the offensive players.
Yeah, and to your point, James, this Syracuse offense has really kind of just been one-dimensional for most of this game as Caruso comes down the right side, curl drag. Shot came in on Kuzo, and a hefty rebound, put all the way into the slot once again. Now rimmed out to the top right point. Billy DeBlois waits for it, fakes out the wrist shot into the glove of Preston, who looks north. On the money for Joey Pucciarelli. Maybe numbers for Syracuse. Van Ramsdonk with the neck drive into the skates of Preston. Now thrown in front. Preston to get to it. Tucks it out in front off the body of Dubois. Pucciarelli feeding the near post. Van Ramsdonk couldn't corral it into skates. Now behind the net, Colin Morrow takes a big hit. Feeds it to Van Ramsdonk. Pucciarelli falls down. It comes to Ford Hatchett at the top. Goes D-to-D for Messick. Slap shot blocked out in front by Billy Dubois. Great job there, but a good shift for Syracuse. As you mentioned, they're starting to tilt the ice. Now trying to catch URI in a rush. Sean Messick over the blue line, and offsides on the Orange. And Nick Pierre-Andre has an earful for the referees.
That is an atrocious call. That was not very close. That was absolutely not offsides. You could see the 4-on-0 rush starting, and a good play by the one-man back for URI. He recognized it was going to be a 3 or 4-on-1. Might as well try to step up, force something to happen. He got the offsides, but that is a rough call from the referee. That was a very, very close call.
A close call, but that all could have been avoided if Messick had dumped the puck off. He had numbers, and it looked like maybe he was going to feed one. Nevertheless, it's called back as Prestamo comes down the left side. In and out of the glove of Ketzenberger. A juicy rebound out into the slot, and Messick's body keeps it in. Keith Lambert tucks it all the way towards the front. Saint-Sauveur there. He looks north, but it's tied up in his skates, and now it looks like the Rams are back on their heels. Lambert into the offensive zone, trying to feed McNamara in the slot. Ford Hatchett with the net drive as well. McNamara moves it for Lambert. Couldn't lift the stick of Saint-Sauveur, who gets it out to center into Brezzi's stick. Stephen Brezzi, fast skating Orange defenseman, sends it in. Now with a big hit on the near side. The Orange can keep possession. Just about 4 minutes to go here in the second period. Would love to get one more for that last intermission.
You talk about a tale of two teams. Seems like this Syracuse night has been defined by the team that played before that timeout after they fell down 3-0, and the team that's played after that. Two vastly different Orange units. They seem to be playing at a much higher level since that timeout.
Referees content to let them play on now. Still no whistle. Jacobs to dig it out for Hayward by the near side. Feeds the top for Brezzi. Works it back down low for Matt Jacobs. Peels it all the way to Luke Cato, walking in far circle, wrist shot, blocker save by Ketzenberger. Pinch by Brezzi. As Pasola was trying to walk in, as Tripp walks right back into the offensive zone, feeds Hayward, he's getting hauled down. Still no call, they finally get it. It took the referee about 150 feet away from play to actually make a call. Not the 2-1 standing right in front of them, but nevertheless, Syracuse will go to the power play.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that wasn't all four referees simultaneously raising their arms there. Seems like a very easy call to make on Peter Owen Hayward, hauled down very clearly by the stick. And I mean, if there's one thing we know from all of these Syracuse hockey games that we've seen, it's that Peter Owen Hayward is very strong on his skates. It takes a lot to knock him off, especially when you're not using the body like that. There's usually a reason behind that. Shocked that that call didn't come sooner, but Syracuse once again comes away with the power play from it, has the man advantage opportunity, and this is a big one for the Orange. Need to be better than their first.
Evan Rankin, the guilty party. The Orange back to the power play for the second time tonight, 0 for 1 on the evening. Stephen Brezzi at the top, works it for Keith Lambert, goes off of his skates. You are able to force a turnover, but the Orange forwards hound the puck to keep possession. Brezzi for Franzese, works the top for Sean Messick. Wrist shot, misses on the near side. Rebound behind the cage, stuck up on the apron. Lambert to push it for Van Ramsdonk. Showing patience, feeds the top for Stephen Brezzi. Down low for Lambert, wanted to move towards the front, but it rolled off his skate. Sets up in Gretzky's office, now works right side. He's got Brezzi waiting for it, gives it to him. Moves it D-to-D for Messick, changing the angle. Lambert slap shot, rebounds loose for Van Ramsdonk, and he scores! Power play goal, Orange. It's a one-goal game, courtesy of the captain.
And you could see it on that power play. You could see it in the offensive possessions up until that goal. Syracuse really starting to get more of that offensive rush that they're looking for. And when they were entering the zone, you could see it with the way that they were throwing their passes around. They were spacing out this URI defensive core that URI did such a good job of really hammering down on Syracuse in the offensive end, suffocating their opportunities. Syracuse finally started to see some open ice, and they took advantage. Now we got a whole new ball game.
We sure do indeed. With 2:41 to go in the second period, the Oranges fought back to make it a one-goal contest. A power play goal for the Orange from Robert Van Ramsdonk, his 7th of the season. And it was the guy who drew the penalty that has it now. Hayward doesn't play the geometry correctly near side, and he turns it over back to the Rams. Hayward to dump it in. Syracuse on a delayed offsides. Now they tag up successfully. 2 minutes to go in the second. Momentum officially shifted back in the Orange way. Down the right wing, William Schlichting tries to pull a move on Preston, and he snubs it out and starts the rush back the other way. Lucas Prestamo cutting towards the line, leaves it for Hayward, the shot saved, rebound loose, and it spiked to the far boards. Nice little rush there, and it all started with a net drive for Connor Preston. Jonathan Alsfeld protecting past the blue line, evades the check of Preston. Hayward back on defense, and Syracuse can start the rush. Matt Jacobs pulls up, and a penalty behind the play. It looks like it might be going against Syracuse. David Rosen will sit, and I think it's going to be matching minors, James?
Matching minors just got tied up behind the play. Both of them throwing some pushing and shoving. Referees quick to gain control of the game, and that's smart because these are two teams that have seen plenty of one another over the past few years. Don't want to devolve into a physical matchup beyond anything that you would want to see within the parameters of the hockey game. Smart decision there from the referees. We'll get some 4-on-4 play, and you got to think that favors Syracuse with the way that they've been spreading the ice in the past few minutes.
Face off in neutral ice right in front of Nick Pierandri. His team trails by 1 goal. They're being down 3-0 just a few minutes ago. We'll skate 4-on-4 for the rest of this second period. Third period will start as well with a little bit of extra space on the ice. 15 seconds about at the start of the third period. But for now, the conclusion of the second, and the Rams possessing in the offensive zone. Patience shown by Mello, one of the goal scorers for the Rams, but it's stripped away, and Franzese starts the rush. Goes inside out, hauled down, throws it out in front. He couldn't find Brezzi. Defenseman with a nice move right towards that far right post. But Franzese just couldn't get to him. Syracuse goes for a change. Billy Dubois, defenseman, takes a big hit. Indirect, looking for Lambert, and a great stick from Ben Mello that probably saves a partial breakaway from Keith Lambert.
Fantastic play there. It was literally inches away from being a breakaway for Keith Lambert, who's been waiting on one all night. He's really hanging up top of the zone, looking for a quick rush. Nearly had one there, if not for a fantastic defensive play by the Rams.
Deflected by Salisbury. Couldn't get it back down for his stick. Otherwise, he was going to walk in alone as the Rams try and hem Syracuse in their own end on 4-on-4. But now some open ice for Pete and Hayward. Look out over the blue line. Wrist shot missing near side with 10 seconds to go in the period. Hayward protecting on the backhand, trying to pick the top left post. Hatchet to keep it in. Far side, it's Kopsick. Jacobs to snag it behind the goal line. And that will do it for the second period of play. 23 seconds of 4-on-4 time to come at the start of the final frame. But after 40 minutes of play, a 3-2 lead for the Rams, but a comeback mounted successfully for the Orange. We'll see if they can complete it. We're going to step aside for a few moments, but when we come back, we'll bring you that exciting third period right here on the SU Hockey Network. Third period action coming your way from Syracuse, New York, inside the Tennity Ice Pavilion. Alongside James Colgan, I'm Dana Gray. A 3-2 lead for the visiting Rhode Island Rams over your Syracuse Orange. It was 3-0 at one point during that second period. And James, head coach Pierre Andre, took a timeout. Things shifted.
Yeah, that timeout really we might wind up looking at that as the turning point in this hockey game. It was really a completely different game the second after that timeout happened, and it all started because Syracuse started going to work in the offensive zone. They started forechecking much more effectively. They were setting up offensive shifts. They were chip and chasing. They were doing all these different things in the offensive end that started creating some chances. It leads to a kind of soft first goal from URI, and then they turn around, they get another goal on the power play just a few minutes later, and then it was really all Syracuse from the rest of the period out. So 4-on-4 time now here to start the third period, but Syracuse has to be feeling good in terms of momentum with the way that second period ended.
Matt Jacobs skates to meet Jake Salisbury at the center dot, and we're underway from the third period from Tennity. 3-2 lead for the Rams over Syracuse, and about 15 seconds to go of 4-on-4 time. You mentioned that power play for the Orange, James, looked phenomenal. I think it would be wise for the Rams to stay out of the box for this third period because that looked clinical. Peter Owen Hayward over the blue line, feeds the left for Matt Jacobs, dangles past one but keeps the puck with him. Back to 5-on-5. Just a few seconds of it to start the third period. Now even strength in the lead pass on the money for Evan Rankin. He gets stood up but able to feed it out to the slot. Luke Cato baseballs it out of midair and starts the rush back for Hayward. He's got to break towards the net on his forehand. The shot, score! Peter Owen Hayward, the 5-hole opened up. Hayward found it, and it's 3-3. We're all tied up. Smells like momentum.
And you could see Peter Owen Hayward's eyes were as big as saucers when he saw that 5-hole open on Jacob Ketzenberger. It was such an easy play there for Hayward. He was going to try to cut it all the way in front of the net, make a move. I think Ketzenberger saw that happening, started trying to move towards the middle of the net, break it up, left his 5-hole open. Hayward tucks it home, and now we're tied up.
Energy definitely in favor of the Orange. Now looking for the lead. Prestomo over the line. His shot deflected wide. Messick to toss it in behind Ketzenberger. Great shift to start the game, at least for the third period for Syracuse. Some kind of lackadaisical 4-on-4, and then Hayward loaded up down that right wing. And James, once he gets a step on pretty much any defender, it's going to be hard for them to backtrack.
He's got so much speed, so much skill when he's on his edges. He can make so many things happen, and it's, you almost think you're better off just hauling him down on the breakaway, hoping for a 2-minute penalty at that point because he's so lethal when he has those on-man rush opportunities.
Van Ramsdonk backhands it in. Lambert falls down by the near side circle. No call, and the Rams can break back the other way. Cordero moves it to his right, dumped in by Vendetto, but Kuzo to his left out of the crease to snag it with 18-19 to go in the third period. A 3-3 game just a couple of minutes into the third period. Orange goals off the tapes of Tyler Ains, his third, Van Ramsdonk's seventh, that a power play goal. And then Peter Owen Hayward's team-leading 17th goal of this season to bring the Orange even. Fought for down below the goal line. Rosen along with Van Ramsdonk, and the Orange captain able to dig it out, stay on his edges. Ill-advised pass right up the gut and kept in. Padalino sticks it to the far boards. Flows all the way through the blue paint, and Pucciarelli can snag it, go rink wide, aims to chip it in.
And Dana, pretty obvious common theme here for the Syracuse team since their success started happening. So their D-men have started playing much more aggressively on the back end, starting stepping up, making plays defensively. A few players in specific that I've noticed doing this exceptionally well versus having some pretty rough starts to the game were David Rosen and Jacob Padalino. Two of those guys really struggled in the early going, and they've had some really good shifts in the second and early third periods.
Delayed penalty on the Rams. Kuzo off for the extra attacker, and now the whistle blows. And I believe they're going to get Syracuse for too many men. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Lambert might have jumped the bench just a tad too quickly, and Kuzo hadn't reached. Definitely going to be a penalty on the Rams. And Mark Matson Maybe that's going to be the lone one. I just don't know why the referee blew the play dead, because Syracuse had possession, but the second that Keith Lambert touched the ice, the whistle was blown.
That's a strange call there by the referee. I'm not totally sure why that happened either. He seemed to be pretty resolute in his call, and not much of a complaint from the Syracuse bench as well. So sure, he explained what happened, but maybe we just missed it here, because I really didn't see anything that warranted a whistle. I thought Syracuse was going to have a little bit of 6-on-5 time there.
Orange to the third power play of the evening. They've been all given to Syracuse, and they're 1 for 2. Their only power play goal, making it a 3-2 game back in the second period. Now with a chance to take the lead, though it's turned over in the offensive zone and smacked right back to the right of Kuzo. Puts it on a tee for Cato. Already 40 seconds gone in this power play with 16:40 to go in regulation.
The Orange really, they just need to focus on getting this set up. Something they did so well in the latter stages of that second period was just getting their offensive zone time together, getting themselves set up in the offensive end, and then looking to attack from there. You got to learn to walk before you can run in some senses with that. You need to set up in the offensive end before you can get anything on net, get any goals. So that's what Syracuse has to focus on the last minute of this power play.
They got set up last time by a rush from Keith Lambert. It's the same way right here as he curls in. The shot goes off the glove and off the back apron. Looked like that was bouncing over the head of Ketzenberger, very close to tucking in. Keith Lambert with some nifty work in tight, and his shot almost bounced right back into the goal.
Ever so close from Keith Lambert there, and he's been so close to a few different rushes, a few different goals tonight. He's been playing really, really well. Continuation of what we've seen all season. Some good balance from him as well. 14 goals and 14 assists.
Lambert's pass is intercepted by the captain, St. Sauveur, and he'll dump back in with 30 seconds to go on the advantage. Sean Messick, the freshman defenseman, looks north, has Van Ramsdonk to his left, elects to take it himself, and he stood up at the blue line, and the puck sent right back in on Kuzo. Not a lot of time remaining, possibly one more rush for Syracuse on the power play. Brezzi to chug in down the right wing, puts it into an area for himself, rides the boards all the way down. Can't keep puck possession, though. In the corner, it's Cordero. Pushed out towards the top. Lambert to keep in, though. Dangles through one, and now we're back to 5-on-5, and the Rams come through neutral ice with some speed. Cordero sends it in, forcing Kuzo out of his net. Rolls off his stick. Prestamo, the first one to it. Hard around. Waiting for it once again is Cordero. 5 minutes gone in the third period. The Orange has tied it up, courtesy of Peter Owen Hayward. We're at 3-3. Off the stick of Jacobs. Soft stick up by the point. Now Hayward back in. Going all the way below the goal line. Feeds Jacobs up at the top. He has Prestamo streaking, and he gives it to him down the left side. Pulls up. Feeds Jacob right back. Shot save made by Ketzenberger, and the rebound went through the blue. Rosen loads a slap shot, and he scores! A bomb from David Rosen, and Syracuse has its first lead of the evening in the third period. It's 4-3 Orange.
We just touched on him a few minutes ago in the broadcast. David Rosen doing everything right in his own end and really helping to start the Syracuse resurgence in this game. A nice reward for it is to get the go-ahead goal in the third period off just an absolute bomb from the left side faceoff dot. Just a really impressive play there from David Rosen, and really it all starts with great effort from Syracuse on the forward side. Matt Jacobs with that first rush and throwing a nice feed through the entirety of the crease, looking for someone out front and finding it. So that's a nice play from Syracuse.
Lucas Prestamo gets one of the assists. Lively bounce off the boards. Great play from Billy Dubois, sliding through the crease and keeps that from two very quick Syracuse goals. Back the other way, the Rams come into the offensive zone off the skates of Ford Hatcha, and he wants transition. Joey Pucciarelli over the red line. Straight off the bench comes Kowash, had it in his skates, and now he comes back the other way. Peters hounding him from behind, but they gain the line. Backhanded out into the slot, in and out of the feet of Nathaniel Gray. He started the scoring all the way back in the first. Peeling with it is Kowash. Shot off the body of Pucciarelli, and Luke Cato, junior defenseman for Syracuse, comes over the blue line. On his forehand, little nifty wrist shot out of the glove of Ketzenberger, and the rebound to the far boards. Tyler Ains Forces it down low. Van Ramsdonk looking to force a turnover by the far side. Robert Van Ramsdonk has the point free with Preston. Elects to cycle it for McNamara. McNamara turns it over. Ben Mello in a good battle by the far side. Going for it with 7 minutes gone in the third period. Now a 4-3 lead for Syracuse. And finally the referees blow the play dead. It was tied up a little bit too long in the skates for the referee's liking. We'll have a face-off in the offensive zone for Syracuse.
And yes, obviously impressive that Syracuse was able to come back into this game, and especially from down 3, that's impressive. But how about the secondary scoring for the Orange to get back into this one? Tyler Ains tacking on that first goal, the second one coming from Robbie Van Ramsdonk, and then the fourth one from David Rosen. There's been a lot of effort offensively from some non-familiar faces for Syracuse scoring really as a whole. It seems like from everyone, the highest scorer of those 3 that I just mentioned, Van Ramsdonk, Ains, and Rosen, is Van Ramsdonk, and he's only got 10 points in the 20 games this season. So it's not really like Syracuse is getting huge performances out of its top players, and that's a really indicative thing of the type of talent this team has, that some of their big guys, their big offensive producers, can not produce for the good portion of a game, and it won't completely bury this Orange team.
Face off to the right of Ketzenberger. Prestamo leans in, tied up. Swooping in is Cordero. Starts the rush back the other way. Moves it to his right, and the shot came from Christopher Mayer. Rebound to the near side boards, courtesy of Kuzo. 16 shots now on net for the Rams to the Orange's 22. Thrown right on that near side post, but Kuzo had it covered. Flipped out to the right point, held in once again. Pucciarelli approaches the point and forces an ill-advised dump. In neutral ice, Pucciarelli takes his man down and steps over him. And I believe we're going to get a penalty here on Joey Pucciarelli. Maybe a little bit too much. Although he's going straight to the bench. I just can't keep up now with all the whistles from the referees, because it seems like we're in the middle of play and they just decide to blow the play dead.
And I mean, generally you can see a hand pass, you can see a high stick, but these are just like pretty straightforward zone entries. I mean, look, I know that my vision might not be great all the time, but you know, I've never worn glasses a day in my life. I haven't seen anything tonight. I'm not sure why we're getting these whistles.
Well, maybe we'll need to get ours checked after this one, but it is still 5-on-5 hockey with 12:20 to go in the third. Syracuse looking for that ever-important 2-goal lead. They've already scored twice in this final frame. Hatchet to keep it in cleverly at the blue line, works his way down the slot. Franzese pulls up at the goal line, trying to skate onto it the far boards, but Michael Pelsola will carry over the blue line. Shot off the body of Messick, and a good job from the freshman positionally to get it out of play.
And once Ford Hatchet gets a full off-season's worth of training underneath him and really gets used to the Syracuse team, he's really going to be a force to be reckoned with on this Syracuse team. He's been so good, and you can just see his offensive instincts. Just on that last play, was able to stick handle around a defender, take it into the offensive end, and then look for a feed. And for a big guy, for a 6'4" defenseman, to have those offensive instincts, once he gets his skating down, once he really fully adjusts to the speed and physicality of this game, he's going to be a really, really good defenseman for this Syracuse team.
Nice move by Luke Cato to get it out to center ice, but it's pumped right back in on Kuzo. He'll hold it for a face-off. Some extracurriculars after the whistle. Things starting to heat up down on the ice, and you'd have to think that the Rams are pretty frustrated at this point, but you can hear Nick Pierandri all the way from the bench yelling out to just stay away. Syracuse hasn't been shorthanded at all this evening, and now's not the time to take an ill-advised penalty.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't be taking a penalty at this point in the game, especially when you've climbed all the way back into this one to take it to lead.
Shot right off the draw. Great save by Kuzo into the glove, courtesy of Luke Vendetto, who's just sitting there at the dot, and he ripped it.
Yeah, nice shot for Vendetto. Very quick little angle there. Not usual that you see a player get a release that quickly and on net. Really good save by Michael Kuzo to be ready for that, have his ankles down, and just come away with the glove save.
He's settled down pretty nicely after giving up those 3 goals, and it sure seems like a while ago when the Orange was down a trace. Now they find themselves up by 1. Pucciarelli over the blue line, has a trailer coming. It's Preston working his way in, and losing his blocker is Ketzenberger, and he seems to be in some pain. Now finally up as he gets a little help from Morrow, hands over the equipment, and I'm not really sure what happened there. A couple different collisions right at the top of that blue paint.
Well, what happened was Connor Preston was streaking across from right to left across the offensive zone, and then a URI defenseman came from left to right, undercut his legs, and when Preston was up in the air, it looked like it might have been Eddie Cordero that was flying down, and then looked like when Preston was flying through the air, kind of cutting right across that crease on Metzenberger, he got his blocker with him, might have just happened to almost roll up his wrist or something. Looks like he's all right, and hopefully he is. He's played a pretty solid game in net tonight for the Rams.
Surely one way to drive the net. And it created a face-off for Syracuse in the offensive zone. That's where they have it. And the Orange on the power play. A tripping penalty given to Jonathan Alsfeld. Syracuse 1 for 3 on the power play this afternoon. Sean Messick curling back in his own end. That power play goal from Van Ramsdonk really got the momentum going back in the second period, and now Syracuse has it stuck in their own end. Valuable seconds being killed off now by the Rams PK unit, but Van Ramsdonk has some space down the left side. Curling towards the out, on the backhand, protects, goes all the way around the cage. Now finally Keith Lambert joins the fun in the offensive zone. He was stuck back in his own end. Franzese cycles down low for Lambert. Lambert off the half boards. Gives it over to Bresci, but his pass a little bit too predictable. Intercepted by Eddie Cordero, and he sends it right back down the ice. Already a minute gone in this power play for Syracuse, and James, these are important opportunities to take advantage of. A power play with a chance to extend a one-goal lead.
Absolutely. If they could happen to come away with a power play goal here, make it a 2-goal lead, it changes the entire complexion of the game. Helps Syracuse maybe not take a breather defensively, but there's much less pressure on every defensive possession.
The McNamara into the zone, finds Cato straight away at the top of the slot. His shot is deflected a mile high up into the netting. The faceoff will stay in the URIN with 30 ticks to go on the power play. Under 10 to go in the third period. Syracuse with a 4-3 lead. Hayward got the scoring started in this final frame just 40 seconds in on a great rush, opened up the 5-hole. And then David Rosen's second of the season. A rocket from the blue line that was able to beat Ketzenberger and give Syracuse its first lead of the afternoon. Shot coming through from Cato, deflected by Matt Jacobs just wide. Jacobs has it now, works the near side, plays catch with Hayward, 15 seconds to go on the power play. Matt Jacobs back to Peter Owen Hayward. Now a whistle. A referee making a call from down below the goal line. I think they're going to move this face-off back out into neutral ice.
Seemed like someone was a little bit too far into the crease for referees' liking. I mean, that's about all I could say. That's like, what, the fourth or fifth just completely unabated strange whistle that we've seen in this game. It's a little bit difficult for us to decipher from up here, but it doesn't seem like anybody's too upset about it, so maybe we're missing something.
10 seconds to go on the power play for Syracuse, and they win the neutral zone draw. Cato to rip it in around the roulette wheel. McNamara sprinting onto it. Puts on the hit, and that allows Hatchett to walk down and grab it. Shot in on net. Ketzenberger holds it right up on his sweater, and that will do it for the power play for Syracuse. Back to 5-on-5. Shots in favor of the Orange, 23-18 as we head down through the final 9 minutes of this contest. Thanks so much for tuning in to the SU Hockey Network. Dana Gray and James Colgan, so happy to be bringing you this one from Syracuse. It's been a great game so far. That's included an impressive Orange rally. From down 3-0 in the second, they lead 4-3 midway through the third period. Face off to the right of Ketzenberger. Tyler Ains in to dig it out. Wrists one all the way through. Whistle blows, and another penalty upcoming. Referee from down below the goal line making the call with 9:15 to go. Saint Sauveur was tied up with Joey Pucciarelli. Sauveur will sit, and it looks like Pucciarelli is going to join him. We'll skate 4-on-4 for the second time in the past half hour. Coincidental minors and some extra ice now for the skaters to work with.
Big 9 minutes for Syracuse. This game could wind up having everything for both teams. A huge lead for one team, a big comeback, and then preserving the lead during these final 9 minutes. We'll see if Syracuse can pull it off. Definitely easier said than done, especially with a team that's got as much ability as this Rhode Island Rams. See it.
Padalino's shot intentionally wide as we're 4-on-4 now for the next 2 minutes of the third period. Prestamo in on the forecheck. He's got Franzese out in front. Prestamo curls the net and he scores! Lucas Prestamo gives the Orange a 2-goal lead. It's 5-3 Syracuse.
And we said it, Dana, a 1-goal lead is huge, but a 2-goal lead is just as big for this Syracuse team. A hugely important goal for Lucas Prestamo, and it all comes off just a workhorse shift. Just doing everything with the puck, possessing at such a high level, doing such a good job. He's so strong on his skates for just a freshman forward, and he's been one of the better Syracuse forwards tonight. Paid off in the terms of a goal late in this third period.
Great job from the freshman to give Syracuse a 2-goal lead with 9 minutes to go in the third period. Still a hefty amount of 4-on-4 time, and the Rams looking for a much-needed response, but Connor McNamara digs it out and forces it out to neutral ice. The 4th goal of the season for Lucas Prestamo, who really shot out onto the stage early on in the season, dealt with some injury problems, but we were very impressed ourselves from his play earlier on in the season, and now producing in a tight game against a top 25 ranked team in the nation, the URI Rams, in game 1 of a weekend set. Syracuse with a 2-goal lead. Walking right down the slot, shot whistles off the ankle of Luke Cato. Syracuse defensemen doing a wonderful job, as they usually do, in front of Michael Kuzo, getting in those right areas. Blocking a ton of shots as Hayward all the way through the zone. Blocker save by Ketzenberger. Skating out with it is Eddie Cordero, but he turns it over. Hayward just looks like a man on a mission this third period, forces the turnover. Jacobs walks in, paddle down save for Ketzenberger, and the rebound to the far boards. Hayward cycling for Jacobs, and he's swimmed by Jake Salisbury, who starts the rush back the other way. A couple of 17s going for it, and Hayward wins it. Now Salisbury in a battle with Ford Hatchett. Hayward for the change. Didn't think he knew the play was going right behind him. Still 15 seconds to go with 4-on-4 time. Pinned up along the far boards, Michael Pasola taking a heavy whack from Ford Hatchett, who pins him in, trying to dig for the puck. Just a couple of seconds until Pucciaretti and Saint Sauveur will exit, and now they do. The Orange has the puck. Pass a little bit too hot for Lambert, but Pucciarelli to skate onto it straight out of the Bucks. Look to backhand it out in front for Keith Lambert. Pucciarelli taken down to the ice, though always with a smile on his face. And the Rams come out to center. Hatchett D-to-D with Messick. Uses the far boards for Lambert as Syracuse tries to revamp for the rush. Goes right down the gut for Pooch. Puts it into an area for Franzese over the blue line down the right side. Leaves for Lambert. Curl drag. And he didn't miss that top left point by much. Connor Preston in his own end. 6:30 to go in regulation. Over the red line. Dangles over the blue as well. Trying to feed it in front for Keith Lambert. And Rosen will have to wait for it in neutral ice. Spiked down by Evan Rankin. Prestamo back for it. Forces it for Eddie Cordero. He's been very active from the blue line for the Rams all evening. Applying some offense as well. And another huge hit from Connor Preston. He's accounted for a good 50% of the Orange qualified hits through about these 55 minutes of play. Prestamo into the offensive zone. Leaves it for Van Ramsdonk, who takes a tumble. And URI will try and break out, but with the forecheck that Syracuse has had pretty much ever since the end of that timeout, it's been impressive stuff, putting the Rams back on their heels, as they do right there. Steven Brezzi forcing his man. It was Schlittlig who went down to the ice.
Just another relentlessly hard-working shift from this Syracuse line with both captains on it, Robert Van Ramsdonk and Connor McNamara. The two of them, I mean, just think about this game as a whole. You go down 3-0 in the game, and you need to rely on your experienced players and your leaders. Robert Van Ramsdonk has been one of the best skaters on the ice for either team tonight. He's had one of his best games of the year, and that was when Syracuse needed him to step up. He did. Connor McNamara, always solid.
Hayward creates the turnover, looking for the wraparound attempt by the near side. Pad down for Ketzenberger. Hayward's put it in another gear in this third period. Tied the game up just a minute into the final frame. Since then, Syracuse has scored two more to take a 2-goal lead. Franzese in a battle by the near side. Messick pinches in. The Orange can't hold the line. Path now for Daniel Caruso to skate onto into the offensive zone, but once again, not with possession. This Orange team is just clinical when they have a lead. The way they're able to just continue to put the pressure on the defense as Messick tosses it in. The Orange in the midst of a change. Peters now in on the forecheck by the near side, applies a hit. Curling back with it is Josh Boulos. His goal made it 3-0 Rams midway through the second, but look out here. Another huge hit from Preston. This one on Jake Salisbury sends him down, and now he puts another one on, and this one's going to draw a penalty. Delayed penalty on Syracuse, and the wrist shot deflected up into the netting. Connor Preston pretty much hitting anything that he can at this point, but now the Orange is going to be shorthanded with under 4 minutes to go.
And, you know, we've been singing his praises all night. Connor Preston has been such a talented player for this Syracuse team throughout this whole year. But, you know, what happens when you play that line, toe the line physically so much? A lot of times that means that you wind up heading into the penalty box for some physical play. That's what happened with Preston there. If you're Nick Pierandri, yeah, you're upset. It's a late game penalty with a 2-goal lead against a good team. But you never want to tell a player that plays with that physical edge to step off that physical edge, because it is such a benefit for this Orange team.
Timeout called by Rhode Island, sensing how important this power play is for them. With 3:59 to go in regulation, they trail by 2 goals. Connor Preston will sit for 2. This power play unit for Rhode Island, a very, very good one, firing at a .231 clip. Syracuse PK, though, one of the best in the nation. 89%. They call themselves the Dog Pound, and they pride themselves on killing penalties and also creating offensive scoring chances as well. And you'd have to think that they're going to be a little more focused on the defensive end as this one, with under 4 minutes to go and a 2-minute penalty kill in front of them. Michael Kuzo, 15 saves for him through about 56 minutes of play. Hasn't been tested a whole lot in this third period. There were a couple times back in that second where things were really getting out of hand for Syracuse. They weren't playing the way they wanted to. He made some big saves.
I mean, just look at the comparison between last season and this season. Syracuse making the change to the ESCHL this year, much more difficult conference, and it seems to be paying huge dividends. They just seem to be such a more mentally strong and emotionally strong team than they were last year.
Face-off won by Syracuse, pushed up the near side boards, and McNamara completes the clear. Penalty killing unit on the ice for the Orange. Van Ramsdonk, McNamara, Brezzi, and Cato, the 4. As the Rams get it into the offensive zone. Held on the right point. Wrist shot whistles high and wide to the glove of Kuzo. Now out to the top left. D to D they go. It's McKenna with it. Feeds it all the way through the slot to Pesola. His wrist shot from the high circle is deflected by Brezzi and out. Good job there by the defenseman Eddie Cordero to hold the line. Moves it down low, trying to move the Orange penalty killers around. Not a lot of time and space at the moment. Cordero sends it down low. Finds it back. 45 seconds gone in the power play. D to D, everything to the outside right now at the moment for the Rams power play. Now they work it towards the circle. Tight angle shot from Pesola, whistled high. Working the blue line. Now found down low for Rankin. His shot blocked, and Cato with it at the goal line. Spins past 2 different Rams, but his only play was to get it back to the blue paint and turn up possession.
Syracuse got to hunker down and keep the form.
Fed down low below the goal line. Now to the near side circle. Puck loose, still in the blue paint, and a clear attempt from Van Ramsdonk is knocked down by Cordero.
What a keep by Cordero. Oh, my goodness. I'm not sure I've ever seen a play that well from the blue line. Just a great clear.
Eddie Cordero looking for a shooting angle. Trying to find the stick of Pesola for a tip. 30 seconds to go in the power play, and it's been all in the Orange end for the most part. Far side, now down low, it's Jake Salisbury. Right back out to the top. McKenna's shot is blocked. This PK unit has been out the entire time for the Orange, and what a block from Van Ramsdonk, but they still can't get it clear. Only 8 seconds to go in the power play for Rhode Island, trailing by 2 goals with 2 minutes to go in the third. Out to the top, now worked down low, deflected up over the net, and the Orange is back to 5-on-5. What a kill for Syracuse. They bent, but they didn't break. Now Joey Pucciarelli starts a one-on-one rush. He's got Hayward coming with him. Joey Pucciarelli gives it over for Hayward. Glove save made by Ketzenberg, and he'll hold with 1:45 to go in the third.
Nice flashing of the leather from John Ketzenberger, and I think URI is wondering where that power play was about 4 minutes ago, because that was a huge momentum shift in the favor of them. Weren't able to convert with a goal, but literally 2 full minutes of offensive zone time, offensive chances. Those Syracuse penalty killers are absolutely exhausted right now. Great power play display from URI, despite the fact that did come away with the goal.
Yeah, it was just that one clear for Syracuse. Came about the 150 mark, and then other than that, they were hemmed in their own end, as URI is right now with only 90 seconds to go in regulation, trailing by 2 goals. Billy Dubois trying to dig it out. Takes a big shoulder check from Franzese to keep it in. Syracuse forces the turnover. Jacobs patiently waits with it by the near side boards, takes a hit for his trouble, and gives up for Peter Owen Hayward. Padalino can't keep the point, and David Rosen more than content to just kill off some clock. Just over a minute to go in regulation. Hayward will dump in and go for a wholesale change, and Syracuse can complete it. Turning north is Josh Boulos. Right past the Orange S over the blue line. He dangles in. Ketzenberger thought about going to the bench, and the puck goes out of play, and now we'll see if the URI goaltender will in fact go for the extra attacker. It's up to Joseph Augustine, the head coach for Rhode Island, and he in fact does elect to put a 6th skater on the ice with 58.1 seconds to go in the third period. 5-3 lead for Syracuse.
And Syracuse can't let its guard down defensively here.
Pucciarelli down to his knees to tie up the draw. Shot from Pesola was blocked. Another one comes through, deflected in the high slot. That one from Rankin didn't miss by much on the far side. Puck trickles over the blue line, a clear for Syracuse with 40 seconds to go. Dumped into the right at Kuzo. Sean Messick, first one to it. Pins it up against the boards. Takes 2 Rams right back towards the glass. Pucciarelli to get it out for Prestamo, and he'll chip in front of the URI bench with 25 seconds to go. Net empty for Rhode Island. Skating into the zone, but illegally. Offside called on the Rams. Michael Pesola, leading scorer for Rhode Island, has been relatively quiet tonight. Hasn't had a lot of time and space, especially since that timeout called by Coach Pierandri. We've seen a very, very different playing Orange team since the midway point of that second period.
Still 20 seconds left, but Syracuse is able to come out with the win in this one, which they very well should. We learned a lot about this Orange team tonight. This is a team that last year, if they go down 3-0, there's no way they're coming back. And I don't care if it's a 25th ranked URI team or an unranked RIT team, they're not coming back. This year's team never batted an eyelash. They played a horrendous first period and were able to come around, get back past a rough start to the second, and come all the way back in this game to win by 2 goals. That is the mark of a team that has some late season, postseason aspirations, and that's exactly what Syracuse is looking for.
Rosen in his own end gives to Preston, and the buzzer sounds, and that will do it. A comeback win for Syracuse. They trailed by 3 goals in the second period. They storm all the way back against a raked opponent. An ESCHL matchup which goes the way of the Orange, 5-3 Syracuse.
And just a great performance from the Orange all the way through. You see, giving some love down there on the side at Greek night here at Tennity Ice Pavilion, and everybody's loving it. We're loving it up here in the booth. The fans are loving it, and the players are loving it as well. And boy, did this Orange team give them something to watch tonight. It was about as ugly as the first 25 minutes as we've seen from this team, and then about as good as the last 35 minutes we've seen from this team this whole season. I mean, this was a really, really impressive game from the Orange, and there's a lot for this coaching staff and for this team to take away from this.
They'll meet once again tomorrow afternoon, same place at 3 o'clock for an afternoon matinee. Teams shake hands at center ice, and it won't be long before they take it once again. But Chapter 1 of this weekend series goes to Syracuse, showing a lot of character, a ton of grit in this one, especially in the second half of the contest. We'll take you through the goals for Syracuse. Tyler Ames got the Orange on the board midway through the second period, followed up by a power play goal for Robert Van Ramsdonk, his 7th. Peter Owen Hayward's 17th leading goal of the season came just about the 41-second mark of the third period to tie the game even. And after that, Syracuse never looked back. David Rosen's second goal of the year, an absolute bomb from the blue line. gave the Orange its first lead midway through the third period. Lucas Prestamo would tuck one in for good measure, and the Orange win it 5-3 over the Rhode Island Rams. And that'll do it for our coverage tonight on the SU Hockey Network. Be sure to tune in tomorrow afternoon at 2:45. Same place, same two teams, as they do battle once again at Tennity Ice Pavilion. But for now, for my broadcast partner, James Colgan, I'm Dana Gray saying so long from Tennity, where the final score, 5 for Syracuse, 3 for Rhode Island. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon.